Black Jesus is here. Italy's groundbreaking revelation transforms Christianity in the rolling hills of Italy, where the remnants of the Renaissance whisper through cobblestone streets and grand cathedrals. A revelation has emerged that shakes the foundations of Christianity. Italy, long celebrated as the guardian of Christian heritage, has unveiled evidence suggesting a historical reimagining of Jesus Christ, not as the fair-skinned figure immortalized in European art, but as a man of African descent. This discovery is more than an academic curiosity. It represents a transformative moment that challenges centuries of theology, art, and cultural norms for an American audience deeply entwined with questions of race, history, and faith. The implications are profound. The revelation of a Black Jesus has the potential to redefine Christianity, fostering inclusivity and illuminating truths long obscured by history. If you find this exploration of faith and history intriguing, we invite you to join the conversation. Subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. First evidence unveiled by Italy. The evidence presented by Italian scholars regarding the historical depiction of Jesus is both profound and transformative. It challenges the long-standing Eurocentric portrayals that have dominated Christian iconography for centuries. Grounded in art history, textual analysis, and interdisciplinary studies, this research not only reshapes the visual narrative of Jesus but also addresses deeper philosophical questions about cultural identity, representation, and the intersection of faith with historical accuracy. A striking revelation emerges from the examination of early Christian art, specifically frescoes, mosaics, and catacomb paintings in Rome. These works, many dating back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE, depict Jesus with darker skin tones, curly or wavy hair, and features aligning more closely with the Semitic and African populations of the ancient Middle East. These depictions contrast sharply with later European renditions of Jesus as light-skinned, blue-eyed, and with straight flowing hair, an image that began to dominate from the medieval period onward. Italian art historians argue that these early representations are not only more historically plausible but also reflective of the cultural diversity within early Christian communities, which included Jews, Greeks, and Africans living under Roman rule. Complementing the visual evidence are textual sources such as Roman administrative records and early Christian writings. While canonical texts provide limited descriptions of Jesus' physical appearance, inferences can be drawn from the socio-cultural context of 1st century Judeo-Roman documents. Occasionally describe the physical traits of Jewish populations, frequently noting darker skin tones, curly hair, and robust features, characteristics common among Semitic and North African peoples. Moreover, early Christian texts such as the apocryphal Acts of Peter and the Letter of Linus, despite questions regarding their authenticity, describe Jesus in terms inconsistent with the later Europeanized depictions. While these sources require critical examination, they underscore the perception of Jesus as a figure reflecting the physical characteristics of his Middle Eastern environment. Geographical and anthropological studies further bolster this perspective. Judea, situated in the Levant, was a cultural crossroads, influenced by centuries of trade Migration and conquest. Anthropological studies of skeletal remains and DNA evidence from the region reveal a population characterized by significant genetic diversity, including traits associated with both African and Scythic ancestry. Italian scholars emphasize that the Mediterranean basin, encompassing parts of North Africa in the Middle East, was a melting pot of ethnicities during the Roman era. As a Jewish man living in this milieu, Jesus would have embodied the physical traits typical of his environment, diverging significantly from the later Eurocentric depictions shaped by Renaissance ideals. A pivotal aspect of the Italian scholarly effort lies in their candid acknowledgement of historical inaccuracies perpetuated by their own cultural and religious institutions. For centuries, Italy, home to the Roman Catholic Church and the Renaissance art movement, played a central role in shaping the image of Jesus as a white European figure. Iconic artworks by Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and Raphael cemented this Eurocentric portrayal in embedding it deeply within Christian tradition and Western cultural identity. However, Italian academics are now re-evaluating these artistic traditions, recognizing that they were influenced more by the socio-political demands of their time than by historical fidelity. By addressing these inaccuracies, they seek to dismantle the legacy of colonialism and racial bias that underpin such portrayals, fostering a more inclusive understanding of Christian heritage. This commitment to historical truth has ignited broader discussions within Italian academia regarding the implications of these findings for modern Christianity and its global followers. By presenting a more accurate depiction of Jesus, Italian scholars invite believers to reconsider how cultural and racial biases have shaped their faith. They argue that while Jesus' teachings centered on love, compassion, and justice transcend physical appearance, acknowledging his historical reality as a Middle Eastern man is crucial to monitoring the diversity of the early Christian movement and rectifying centuries of misrepresentation. These revelations have also sparked significant interest in debate among theologians, historians, and artists. The Italian scholarly community advocates for greater interdisciplinary collaboration to further explore the historical Jesus, integrating anthropological findings, genetic studies, and archaeological discoveries into the broader narrative of Christian history. This approach enriches our understanding of Jesus while emphasizing the interconnectedness of history, culture, and religion. In conclusion, the evidence unveiled by Italian scholars represents a paradigm shift in the understanding and depiction of Jesus through meticulous analysis of early Christian art, historical texts, and anthropological data. They have illuminated a portrayal of Jesus that aligns more closely with his historical and cultural context by confronting their own role in perpetuating Eurocentric images. Italian academics have taken a bold step toward fostering greater inclusivity and historical integrity. This ongoing endeavor not only deepens our understanding of Jesus as a historical figure but also serves as a profound reminder of the necessity to confront and correct historical inaccuracies, cultivating a more authentic and inclusive narrative for future generations. 2. How Italy's revelation transforms Christianity. The revelation from Italy that challenges traditional portrayals of Jesus, suggesting a more historically accurate depiction of him as a man of African and Middle Eastern descent has profound implications for Christianity. Worldwide, this discovery does not merely inform academic discussions, it extends deeply into the lived experiences of Christians, reshaping theology, worship practices, art, and the faith's engagement with historical injustices for millions of believers, particularly those in the United States. The idea of a Black Jesus invites deep introspection, cultural realignment, and transformative dialogue. A significant shift brought about by this revelation lies in the realm of theology. Christian doctrine has long emphasized the universality of Christ, that he came for all people regardless of race, culture, or social status. Yet this message of inclusivity has often been undermined by persistent imagery of a Eurocentric Jesus. The recognition of a Black Jesus, or a Jesus with African and Semitic features, reinforces the universality of Christ in a tangible way. It challenges long-held assumptions about his physical appearance, urging Christians to disentangle the essence of his teachings from the cultural biases that have shaped his image by embracing a historically accurate representation. The Church can deepen its theological understanding of inclusivity, moving from symbolic universality to a more authentic acknowledgement of diversity for African American Christians and other communities of color. This revelation carries profound resonance. Christianity was often introduced to African ancestors under the shadow of colonialism and slavery, with the image of a white Jesus used to justify subjugation and systemic racism. The acknowledgement of a Black Jesus by Italian scholars offers an opportunity for reclamation and healing. It aligns Jesus' image with the lived experiences of marginalized and oppressed communities, fostering a sense of belonging and empowerment within the faith for African Americans, seeing Jesus represented as someone who reflects their heritage affirms their place in the Christian story, making the Gospel's message of love and liberation deeply personal. This revelation also signals a radical transformation in Christian art and representation. For centuries, European depictions of Jesus have dominated church art, religious iconography, and popular culture, often reinforcing colonial ideals of beauty and power. While these images hold artistic significance, they have also alienated non-European Christians and perpetuated a narrow exclusionary view of the faith. Italy's findings invite a reimagining of Jesus' image, one that reflects the diversity of the global Christian community. Artists and theologians are now encouraged to create depictions of Jesus that resonate with various cultures and experiences, celebrating the multifaceted nature of humanity. Such a shift has the potential to transform worship spaces, making them more inclusive and representative of a faith that spans continents and cultures. Equally important is the call to confront the historical injustices tied to the Eurocentric portrayal of Jesus. For centuries, the image of a white Jesus was wielded as a tool of oppression used to justify colonial expansion, the transatlantic slave trade, and systemic racism. By presenting a historically accurate image of Jesus, Italian scholars have taken a critical step toward dismantling these harmful legacies. This reimagining of Christ invites Christians to examine how their faith has been complicit in systems of Injustice reframing the gospel as a message of liberation, equality, and justice. This perspective honors the true diversity of early Christianity while empowering modern believers to engage actively in social justice and reconciliation in the United States, where Christianity is deeply intertwined with cultural identity. Italy's revelation has sparked a spectrum of reactions ranging from affirmation and celebration to resistance and controversy for some, particularly within African American churches. This discovery validates long-held beliefs. The Black Church, with its rich history of blending faith with the struggle for civil rights, has often emphasized a Jesus who identifies with the oppressed. The acknowledgement of a Black Jesus by European scholars adds academic weight to this perspective, reinforcing the theological foundation for a faith rooted in justice and liberation for others. However, this revelation challenges deeply ingrained beliefs and traditions. For many American Christians, the image of a white Jesus is not merely an artistic choice but a cultural and emotional touchstone tied to centuries of religious practice. This narrative shift forces communities to grapple with uncomfortable questions about how race and culture have shaped their understanding of faith. While some may resist these changes, others may find in them an opportunity for growth, dialogue, and a deeper exploration of Christianity's historical roots. The American Church, in all its diversity, now faces a pivotal moment. This revelation offers a chance to engage in meaningful conversations about race history in the true nature of Christ's mission for predominantly white congregations. It is an opportunity to confront the ways Eurocentric depictions of Jesus have excluded or marginalized others. For churches of color, it is a moment to celebrate their heritage and reaffirm their integral role in the story of Christianity across denominations. This moment invites believers to reimagine their faith in ways that honor the complexity and diversity of the human family. Such transformation is not without challenges, dismantling centuries old perceptions and cultural narratives requires patience, humility, and a willingness to engage in difficult conversations. However, the potential rewards are immense. By embracing a more inclusive and historically accurate image of Jesus, the Church can become a more united and welcoming body, better equipped to address the challenges of a diverse and interconnected world. In conclusion, the revelation of a Black Jesus by Italian scholars carries far-reaching implications for Christianity. It challenges traditional theological interpretations, inspires greater inclusivity in worship and representation, and calls believers to confront historical injustices in the United States, where race and religion are deeply intertwined. This discovery has sparked both celebration and controversy, offering a moment of profound reflection and potential growth. As the global church grapples with these findings, it has the opportunity to embrace a vision of Christ that truly reflects humanity's diversity, fostering a faith that is more inclusive, just, and transformative. 3. What Italy says about Black Jesus being here. Italian researchers have presented a compelling case that challenges the long-standing Eurocentric depictions of Jesus. Their work emphasizes the importance of a historically accurate portrayal rooted in his geographical, cultural, and ethnic context. Through meticulous analysis of Ancient texts. Early Christian iconography and anthropological studies. These scholars argue that Jesus's appearance would have reflected the diverse population of 1st century Judea, a region that served as a crossroads of African, Middle Eastern, and Mediterranean cultures. Early Christian art, particularly in catacombs and mosaics, often depicts Jesus with darker skin tones and features more representative of Semitic and African ancestry, offering a stark contrast to the pale-skinned, blue-eyed figure popularized in Western art from the medieval period onward. This revelation carries profound cultural significance, as the image of a white Jesus has historically been used to perpetuate systems of oppression, including colonialism, slavery, and systemic racism. The portrayal of Jesus as a European figure was not merely an artistic preference but a deliberate ideological construct. It aligned Christianity with Western dominance and excluded non-European peoples from its central narrative by acknowledging the likelihood of Jesus' African or Semitic descent. Italian academics are not only correcting historical inaccuracies but also challenging the cultural hegemony that has defined Christianity for centuries. This recognition invites a broader understanding of Christianity as a faith born from the multicultural tapestry of the ancient Near East and North Africa, where diverse ethnicities and cultures intersected to shape its early history. Furthermore, this acknowledgement reclaims the inclusivity inherent in Christianity's origins, affirming that Jesus's teachings transcend racial and cultural boundaries. By grounding Jesus's identity in the realities of his time and place, Italy's scholars are fostering a more inclusive vision of the faith, one that resonates with believers from all walks of life. This revelation is not merely a historical correction but also a profound call to reimagine Christianity in a way that honors its true roots. It challenges the legacies of exclusion while celebrating the diversity of the human family. For Italy's role as guardian of Christian heritage. Italy's unparalleled role as the custodian of Christian heritage is deeply rooted in its rich history as the heart of Christendom. From the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City to the fresco chapels of Florence, Italy has long been a repository of sacred art, theological scholarship, and historical records that have profoundly shaped the Christian narrative within its borders. The Renaissance reimagined religious iconography, producing timeless masterpieces like Michelangelo's P and Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. These works, celebrated for their artistic brilliance, also solidified a Eurocentric vision of Jesus that influenced Christian communities worldwide. As the seat of the Roman Catholic Church, Italy has carried the profound responsibility of defining and disseminating the story of Jesus Christ for centuries, intertwining its cultural identity with its spiritual stewardship. However, the recent revelation by Italian scholars of a historically accurate portrayal of Jesus, likely as a man of Middle Eastern or African descent, marks a transformative moment in Italy's role as a guardian of Christian heritage. This courageous re-examination of deeply ingrained traditions highlights Italy's willingness to confront its own legacy, including the propagation of a Eurocentric image of Jesus that has dominated for centuries. By delving into early Christian art, ancient texts, and Anthropological evidence. Italian academics and theologians have demonstrated a commitment to historical integrity even when it challenges long-held beliefs and cultural norms. This effort underscores their dual role, not only as preservers of history but also as its correctors, ensuring that the narratives they safeguard reflect the truth as closely as possible. This revelation carries profound implications, signifying a broader commitment to inclusive ity and authenticity within Christianity by acknowledging the multicultural and diverse origins of the faith. Italy has taken a critical step toward addressing historical injustices tied to the misrepresentation of Jesus. In doing so, it reaffirms the universality of Christ's message, a truth that transcends racial and cultural boundaries. Italy's decision to embrace this academic and theological shift exemplifies a deeper moral and spiritual responsibility, one that prioritizes truth over tradition and seeks to